Hey everyone, welcome to the Transplant Strong Podcast. Today I'm joined by Gray. Gray's been on before, but I've got him back because he has recently competed in a very special competition, a swimming competition, and he not only competed, he absolutely smashed it. He came out with top place in quite a few races. He smashed his own records. So yeah, it's just nice to have him on and excited to have a chat. So how are you going, Gray?
Everything is going amazingly well. Thank you, Danny. Yeah, my health is on point. My mental health feels real good. Like my mindset feels bulletproof right now, and I just physically feel strong, and I'm just in a good place. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, it's good to hear. So tell us a bit about your recent swimming competition. You're in the Masters for well, you did quite a few different races. So how did that go?
Yeah, so the Masters, what Masters division means, it essentially is just a word for old people. Like, so when you're a professional swimmer up until a certain age, you're competing in the Olympics, and then kind of when you retire, people that want to continue racing, still at a fairly high level for sure, they are then dubbed they're in the Masters division. So I went to Doha, Qatar in February for the World Aquatic Masters Swimming Championships. And what's interesting about this competition is it has nothing, first of all, has nothing to do with transplant recipients. So it's not the World Transplant Games. There was another transplant recipient there, Rafael, I
Really?
believe his name was, from Brazil. He and I were exchanging messages, but we were never able to meet up, unfortunately. But anyway, so what's interesting about this as well is the week before the Masters division, it's the World Open division. And the World Open division, honestly, is the largest event for swimming outside of the Olympics. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful facility that houses like some of the best swimmers from around the world. And a lot of the people that are in the Masters division were previous Olympians. So I was swimming against national champions from all over the world, previous Olympic swimmers, Olympic record holders, and that sort of thing. So I think all in all, there were over 3,000 swimmers there. And then we're all organized by division. And the whole thing was overwhelmingly incredible. It was so
Yeah.
big, it was so professional. It really made you feel like you were literally like the week before, the Olympians were there. And
Yeah.
so you were doing the exact same thing as they did. So you feel, at least I did, I felt like a pro for a week. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I could see by the just the look on your face in your pictures and your just how and the way you worded it also well, but just how much it meant to you just to be there and how happy you were. And like you say, I mean, competing on such a high level, especially after everything you've been through, it's just such a huge achievement.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey since I had my transplant in 2015. I remember just making a decision while I was in the ICU after my transplant. I remember making a decision. It was this vague, very broad a statement, but I said to myself that I was going to be bigger and stronger than I had ever been before. And as I said, it was real open ended. I didn't know what the boundaries were around that, but I think just year by year, things have been building momentum. Like it was the Canadian Games, and then it was the World Games, and then I did even better at the World Games when they came around again, and then to go to Australia last year and win the outstanding male athlete of the World Transplant Games
Yeah.
was really good. And then at the end of that, I was like, well, what's next? I mean, like going back to the World Transplant Games, I'm certainly going to be in Dresden, Germany for sure. That's just a beautiful celebration of life. But I wanted something that was even bigger, so another
Mm.
challenge to take on. And so the idea of going to the World Masters Swimming Championships was it for me. And I pretty much I started training late August. I mean, I'm always swimming a little bit, I'm always exercising, but like specific training for this was kind of late August, early September. all the way up until I headed out there in the middle of February. And I guess that preparation and the training, I have a good set of coaches. I was swimming with a couple of different coaches this year. So I had my main team, and then I had a separate team, which was a high performance team with a bunch of young kids actually that are gearing up for Olympic trials and that sort of thing. So just to be around that level and that energy felt advantageous for me as well. And then so getting to Doha, first of all, Doha, I've never been to the Middle East.
No.
And so I had zero frame of reference for what it was going to be like. And Doha was really, really something. It was so clean, super, super clean. I didn't see a piece of garbage anywhere, not even like in the parking lot underneath a bush off in the corner. I didn't see anything anywhere. And the place felt really safe. An interesting culture, that's for sure. Some things I guess I probably don't agree with, but all in all, a great place. They have so much money there. So the facilities were top notch, just beautiful pools. And I say pools, like they built these temporary pools, one indoor, one outdoor, just for these competitions. Anyway, so I ended up going, and all the training, I guess, paid off because from my races in April of 2023 in Australia to the races in February of 2024, I dropped significant amounts of time on all of those races. And I mean, as a semi swimmer, you are. But swimmers will realize that like tenths or even sometimes hundredths of a second of a best time is astronomical. But I was beating some of my times by a full second and sometimes over 2 seconds. And so I guess, as I said, all the training just kind of paid off. I have a great support system, good group of coaches, a great group of friends and teammates that support me as well. So yeah, just a phenomenal experience altogether.
Yeah, I see you do a lot of training, and there's a couple of aspects that I would like to talk about. Is I see you do a lot on like movement, which is flexibility, which I suppose is very, very important. And it's something that maybe a lot of athletes or people that train don't really do because, or you don't understand how having that extra flexibility improves your performance.
Yeah. Stretching, it's not the sexy part, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make us feel like we're getting big or we're getting faster in the pool or running faster if we're on the track. But what I feel it does, especially for me, my age is probably a little bit more advanced than yours and other people's. I feel that if I'm having like a high training load, my body feels quite taxed afterwards. And so if I don't stretch and release the tension, release the muscle fibers a little bit that are now constricted because of the exercise, then I carry a lot of fatigue into the next day. So the training, sure, I'm able to do it, but maybe it's not as beneficial because I'm not as efficient. I'm just trying to make it rather than I'm thriving through it. So I found, and I've set up this little routine. I have some mobility work that I do before exercise and then stretching after. And there's a big difference between mobility work and stretching. I'm not a big fan of stretching beforehand. I don't find it has any benefits. I like to move through ranges of motions and loosen up my joints and muscles through active mobility and movement. So you could even call it active stretching. It's more passive stretching after, when I'm trying to elongate and lengthen the muscles that have become tight through the exercise. So it feels beneficial to me, definitely. And I guarantee it's beneficial to everybody, even if they don't feel it. It's a good thing to prioritize. I wouldn't have been able to maintain the training load that I had because it was quite significant. I was training 6 days a week, oftentimes 2 times per day. I wouldn't have been able to maintain that for very long if I wasn't doing some self-care, some mindfulness, some breathing, a lot of cold water exposure, and some sauna work, and definitely stretching. It's all part of it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned mindfulness there, which was the second point I wanted to go on to. And we all know that sports, the highest athletes, it's down to their mental attitude as well as their physical attitude. So do you find that because you've been through your transplant and everything like this, it's strengthened your mental attitude? It's built it up in any way? Has it influenced it in any way?
Yeah. My mental game is something that I train as well. That's for sure. I for a number of years, I grew up as a swimmer, and I think when you grow up as a swimmer and your head's in the pool for hours at a time, and you're a child, and everyone else is playing, and you're 6 days a week in the pool, and I think you build a little bit of mental strength, mental endurance, and mental toughness. Anyway, so I grew up in that environment, and then when I stopped swimming when I went into high school. I felt burnt out, and it was a few years later I got into Muay Thai kickboxing, and that will develop some mental toughness as well. So like I was active, I competed, we were regularly sparring, so it wasn't like Billy Blank's cardio kickboxing or Taibo or whatever it is. Like this is the real deal, like real learning how to fight stuff. So it's an environment that once again fosters that mental fortitude. And I found when I was going through my transplant, obviously there's so much unknown, and you're not feeling well, and you're dealing with a changing landscape, like probably even like minutes a minute. Sometimes the landscape is changing. I found that the work that I had done through sports, and even through I've done a lot of reading and meditation. I've actually attended a number of meditation retreats as well, and I found that helps me going through the transplant. So that's definitely a part of my program right now, and has been for a number of years still. Anytime that I can absorb myself into the task to try to be as present as possible, rather than being scattered and having like my thoughts here, and then coming back here, and then thought here, and then coming back. I like to be focused on what I do. And so I'm definitely not great, probably not the best multitasker out there, but if you give me a task, that's how I like to just throw myself into that one, immersed fully.
Yeah, that's good. I get that. That's great. So do you want to run through the races that you did and the times that you got?
Yeah, sure. So this was a long course competition. So that means it was in a 50-meter pool. So long course times and short course times are generally a little different. Short course times are generally a little bit faster. About maybe half a second faster per length that you do, simply because of the rest your muscles get when you're doing the turn and the push off the wall. So this was a long course meet. Let's go through it. I swam the 50 backstroke, which, I'm not really a great backstroker. I didn't think, or I don't think, but I've been feeling good this year. I was working on my technique a little bit. My coaches were on me for a number of years. I was going in thumb first, which is not what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to go in pinky first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go in thumb first and then turn. Anyway, so I switched that. I'm doing the proper stroke now. So I swam the 50 backstroke, and I hit a 30.82 in that, which was a best time. I think in Australia, I was in a 32.2 or 32.3 or something like that. So a significant gain in time on that one. So I was happy with that. Although I got to about the 10-meter line and my body just quit. I was trying to go sub 30. I wanted to see a 29, and I'm pretty sure I can do it, but that race didn't. My body wasn't. That was the last race that I did of all the races. So I don't know. That's an excuse, but
you need goals to be able to reach them. So that's a new target.
There you go. I swam the 100 butterfly. And I swam that in a 102. I forget the split, the 102.4, I believe it was. I was a little disappointed with that race. It's a great time. It's a phenomenal time. I'm really happy with the time, but I didn't swim it well. I went out too fast, and then I died on the back end. I got overexcited. Oftentimes I like to think about swimming like sometimes you get involved in like a competition, you get on the block, the crowd is cheering, the starter is saying take your mark. The race kind of happens to you rather than you swimming the race.
Yeah.
And this is the race that kind of happened to me. I got caught up. The guy beside me went out real fast. And I was like, oh gosh, I got to go faster. I got to go faster. And I got down to the end of the first 50 and I made the turn. I was like, well, I think I went out. So there was a lot of almost like Tyrannosaurus Rex arms at the end. Like they were barely coming out of the water.
It's such a weird stroke to see, because a lot of swimming's quite like, they go through the water like fish, you know. You see front crawl and it's just so, just the waves and everything is just so like streamlined, but then you see the butterfly and it's such a weird stroke.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the hardest. I mean, it's a debate whether the breaststroke or butterfly is the hardest stroke. Whoever swims each will say that's what is harder. Like I think butterfly is harder.
I find breaststroke's easy. Like maybe not, I don't know about competing, but just to do breaststroke, that's kind of the one that you would do if you were just swimming casually. Whereas
Understood. You and I one day, Danny, we're going to swim a 200 breaststroke and we're going to try to maintain the pace and we'll see how terrible that can get.
Okay.
No room for like a leisurely Sunday swim in a pond or anything like that.
Right.
So I hit the 102 in the 100 fly. I swam a 50 freestyle, and in Australia, I've never been a good 50 freestyler. The strokes on a 50 is different than a stroke on a 100, is different than a stroke on a 200. Your pace is different. And my pace, I felt I was always I was too fast on top of the water and I wasn't pulling enough underneath the water. So in Australia, I swam, I think it was a 27.2 or something like that. And I wasn't happy with that. I walked away from that a little disappointed. But in Australia, I've been working on my stroke this year. So when I went to Doha, I ended up swimming a 25.666 actually, which was beautiful. Like to touch the wall, I won that heat as well. It was a really, really tight race. Like everybody was. I came in at 25.66, and I think the person that came in 10th was at 26.8. So everybody was right there. And so I was really, really happy with that race. And it was funny. I have a teammate that I went to Doha with, a guy named Jason. He's one of my main training partners. He is a 50 freestyler. And he actually ended up coming third overall, so third in the world for that. And he said to me, he looked at me after that race and said, "Well, I guess you're like a 50 freestyler now." And it was just funny because I've always considered myself to be the antithesis of a 50 freestyler. But it went well, so that's good. And then the last race I swam was the 100 freestyle, and this was my happiest race. This is the one I'm most proud of. It was the first race of the competition, so with the first race, there's always some nerves because you're going through the process. I didn't know, we're all in all sort of back rooms before we walk out into the pool. And as soon as you walk out into the pool, you have to race. So you're in these back rooms, you're with all of the people that you're racing against. And I swear that a lot of races are won and lost in that room because there's so much going on. There's so much, especially back there, because I'm with the guys, there's so much like just masculine energy in there. And like some people are like zen and they're calm and they're listening to the music. Other people are out there, they're slapping themselves and they're getting ready. And as I said, like you can easily get out of your good headspace if you allow yourself back. Anyway, so I walked out of those back rooms, got on the block for the first race, and dove in. And so my fastest 50 freestyle short course has been a 59.35. When I was in that short course, and when I was in Australia last year in April, I swam the 100 free long course in a minute. I think it was a minute 4 or minute. No, I think it was a minute 2:07. So I was disappointed I didn't get into the 59. But for some reason, all the training and everything, I hit a 57. I forget the split, the 57.5 or something around there, which was, it set the week off right. I was like, oh gosh, I'm happy. I'm feeling great. It's funny because the days leading up to the race, I'm in the pool, and it's funny. Here, I'm going to take it back. Getting onto a plane when people have sponsored you to go and compete internationally, it's at that point that it hits you. It's like, wow, this is a big deal. There's a lot of expectation here. So I have those nerves or that awareness going up into the event. And when I'm warming up in the pool on the day or 2 days before the actual competition, I'm very much in my head, like, how do I feel? I don't know if I feel very good. Maybe I feel okay, but there's a lot of these what ifs, and you don't know how it's going to go really until you get on the blocks and you hit that first race. And that was my first race. So that's when I felt like, yes, okay, I've arrived. Like my training is paying off, and I feel real good.
Yeah. Do you think you felt in any way out of place to walk before as well, like because of your transplant or anything? Do you think you thought psychologically, not really consciously, but maybe, I don't know, you just thought maybe you weren't as good or weren't the person that they were? Did that ever play any thoughts into your head?
Well, sure. There's always a little bit of doubt. And so I mentioned my training partner, Jason. Jason mentioned to me one day, this was before we went to Doha, and I guess, like, I'm always kind of considering myself to be a transplant swimmer. I mean, that's the title, transplant swimmer.
Yeah.
And I go to the games and I do well at the games. And as I said, like I won the athlete of the year at the World Games last year. And like, that's like almost like a personality within itself. And he said to me, he challenged me. He said, listen, like, yeah, you're a phenomenal transplant swimmer, probably one of the best in the world. Absolutely. It's amazing. Congratulations. Is that all you want to be? Like, do you want to have those quotations around that word transplant, or do you just want to be a phenomenal swimmer? He says, because, like, look where we're going to go soon. You're like that. Those are swimmers. And like, yeah, you're a transplant swimmer. It's amazing that you've gone through the things that you've gone through and that you can get to this, but don't categorize yourself as just a transplant swimmer. And so there was a bit of a mental switch there. And so, no, the answer is I didn't feel out of place. And that's for a couple of reasons. That conversation for sure, and that mind shift as well. But I'm also competing locally against non-transplanted swimmers regularly. We're like, all the local competitions, they're just people. So generally, it's just Jill and I that are the transplant recipients at these competitions that we go to, like the local ones in Ontario, Canada, where we live. So yes and no. There's an awareness, and I think I don't think I was using it as a crutch, but I was carrying the crutch with me in case I needed to use it.
Yeah, maybe it works the opposite way around. Maybe people that you're swimming against are like, man, this guy hasn't even got his own liver. We should be able to beat him. And then like you smashing people. But yeah,
well, here's the thing. Actually, at the local swim competitions, I don't really advertise that I'm just a swimmer there. I try to be. I don't really talk about that all that much.
Of course, hard when you've got a huge scar.
Yeah. My scar is actually semi-concealed. It's not as noticeable as a lot of people. Hopefully, I'll see you one day. We can swap scar looks and see what we look like.
Definitely. It's been really interesting talking to you, and I've followed you for quite a while now, and I've seen all your swimming progress and everything like that. And to me, it's really inspirational. Like, we had a discussion before, and I've got into swimming. And before I had my transplant, I didn't know what was possible after transplant. We kind of just presume that old people have a transplant, and once they've had it, they just continue being old and life's over. Whereas seeing, speaking to people like you and hearing all these stories, it's just incredibly inspiring, really.
That's a real reason why I started an Instagram account in the first place. When I was going through my transplant, when I was in the hospital and immediately afterwards, I didn't know of anybody else that had a transplant, let alone did I know that transplant sports was a thing. And if I had have known, I would have had maybe, I mean, I made my own path. That was nice, but maybe I would have noticed a path out there that I could have kind of followed because there was an example of something. So that's the biggest reason. I'm actually not a big fan of social media. I don't really scroll it all that much, but I'll post on it for that reason. Hopefully, maybe one day someone out there sees, oh my gosh, this person is they're swimming and they're doing these things, and provide a little bit of hope for somebody. And as a matter of fact, I routinely get messages from people just out of the blue. I came across your page. It's really inspirational. How did you start? What should I do?
Yeah.
And the fact that someone is coming and asking me, like, I'm just a dude, like, but it means a lot to me. It really means a lot to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think people sort of sometimes realize, and there'll be people that don't message you as well. So there'll be people that you've affected, but not everyone messages you, and you don't see the amount of people that it inspires. But I think you should definitely, obviously, carry on doing what you're doing, and I love to see all your posts, and I look forward to hopefully meeting you next year in Germany. I think it's next year.
Yeah, it is. It is. That would be great. Yeah, I want to see
Yeah.
you in the pool.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be funny. You'll be finished before I've even got halfway down the pool.
I don't know about that. You
Yeah.
put in the work and you get better. That's all it is.
Yeah. I like the transplant games, and I do have a bit of a competitive streak in me, but I'm just happy training and doing it for my own fitness and stuff like that, really.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's what Move for Life is all about, and what that not-for-profit is just for promoting active lifestyles after transplant. And it doesn't matter what that is. Any sort of movement is better than no movement. So if you're pushing yourself as an athlete, or you're just walking down the street around the block every day, doesn't matter what it is. Any sort of movement and exercise is good for a transplant recipient. My whole thinking is, like, if I can maintain some strength outside of the hospital, if I ever end up in the hospital, or I have like a health hiccup, that'll be strong enough to recover from that, where I won't be depleted. Like, I don't have to take 7 steps back because I've had a week where I'm not feeling well. So yeah, that's a big and a good message, I think. Just movement in general for everybody. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're talking transplants.
Yeah, in general, like, you don't have to be the top athlete, the top person, but it's just good to do it
Absolutely.
for your physical and your mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been great chatting to you, Gray.
Thank you. You too, Danny. Always.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure having you on, and no doubt we'll talk again later in the year.
Yeah, I look forward to it. And yeah, I keep wearing your the Transplant Strong hoodie around. I have some matching. So I have the wine color one, and I have some matching track pants that I wear with it. So it's like a full look. And me, a grown man walking around in a maroon, winey kind of outfit. Well, everyone looks. They're looking at your stuff all the time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's nice that it's I think we can all resonate with it and it connects. So it's good.
Yeah, I love it. Well done.
Yeah, well,
Good stuff.
Yeah, stay strong.
Yeah, will do. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Well, have a great weekend too.
Yeah, will do. Speak to you soon, Gray.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.